very interesting document that I ran across in research, but one of my good friends found it. You do your due diligence, truth will always make its way into the world of darkness and will bring you light of truth. So we found in the UN handbook on civil registration and vital statistic systems, uniquely section 144, and I'm going to read you out of it. It has a lot to do with the birth registration system, but the statement of birth record the parents fill out. It's not by chance that certain things are underlined, and so on this document, the last name is underlined on where the parents put in print name of child in full. Surprisingly, the name of child in full, the full part seems to have a lot to do with the surname, because they didn't put it in the middle. They put even the child is at the top beside the surname area, so it appears they're more concerned about that surname than anything else. So if we go into the UN handbook, which we know this whole system of birth registration is controlled under the United Nations, and the United Nations controlling the civil registration system, of course, has a handbook on it. So we're just going to read a paragraph out of section 144 that'll clarify why did they underline in most of the years, especially the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s, they seem to have underlined all the surnames, at least within the provincial territory of Ontario. So I'm just going to read the UN handbook, and it'll give us some light on this subject. I quote from the UN handbook on civil registration and vital statistic systems, section 144. Other formal rules for preparing registration records could include the requirement that they be written in a clear hand using indelible ink, assuming that they are prepared by hand to begin with, in the absence of mechanical aids that make for improved legibility and longer preservation of the record. Here's the key sentence coming up. Since the registration record is used as proof, it should be safeguarded from changes, which means that the law or its regulations should ban erasures, additions, insertions between the lines, etc. Although to allow for the possibility of errors when making entries, formal rules should be enacted to make exceptions for such mistakes in the record itself. For example, by providing that the word that is wrong or superfluous be underlined, the error or omission then being noted at the end before the record is dated and signed by the registrar and the informants. Now, interestingly, that process was followed on here. Now, in common law, because there was no need for a surname or an additional name, and Canada being formed on common law, would be the reason, I think, to an extent why they have the surname as an addition. The fact that it's placed on there, they don't want, according to this handbook, for anybody to erase the mistake or the error, so they'd rather leave it there. So they kind of frown on the idea of erasures, which means erasing out the error. So they just leave it, and so they underline it. That's what they were saying there. It'd be better for them to leave it as is and just leave it noted as an error. Now, at the bottom, it says that there'd be an area for notation, and sure enough, on this record, even though the process started off on the birth date of April 7th and the parent filling in on April 15th, and then the division registrar signing off on the 16th, the office notation box noted the error on April 21st. So there was, everything followed according to what we're seeing here, but it's saying that error is superfluous, which is not required. So the difference between fact and fiction, even though the fact that the parents put the given name of the child in there, it becomes an error because of the two showing up at the same time. Again, does the child have that? Does it really have entitlement to that last name? That's a matter of opinion, and it can be very dangerous when we don't know the answer to that and we just go ahead and fill something in, but the child is ultimately protected. So whether or not you're in a situation where you're registering a birth right now, The only thing that's required on Caesar's side is really just the last name, the surname. The other one really isn't applicable. And so that's probably the reason or the basis for what I just read there. So you can go to that again. It's in the UN Handbook on Civil Registration and Vital Statistics Systems. Hopefully this video has helped you out in your due diligence on this matter.